I'm also not giving you my name, and I'm not giving you my shoulder number.
No.
I will wager you've never filed a lawsuit in anyone. I will wager.
And that's on
You're actually on privately run grounds, so it's a police station.
I
so
see.
If you'd like to come to the public area,
would that be privately run on the basis that it's publicly funded?
Yeah, but that's not relevant to the fact that it's public infrastructure.
It's highly relevant. Hold on. It's highly relevant.
You're trespassing on the police station.
Okay.
Is
trespass a civil or a legal matter? Is trespass a civil or a legal matter?
Do you have a request of the police?
Yes, answer the question. Is trespass a civil or police matter?
Do you have a request?
I'll answer the question for the benefit of my viewers.
I think what you're here to do is to ask silly questions.
It's a civil matter. It only becomes a police matter when it's aggravated trespass.
If you could
you do me one favour just to carry on with this consensual conversation? Provide me with 3 forms of address.
Provide you with 3 forms of address?
Identity, my apologies.
I think you are asking some irrelevant questions.
And I'll do it myself.
Oh,
look at your rank. Oh, dear me, you know better than that, sir.
I think you're asking questions which aren't relevant.
Here we are, on duty, covering identification.
I'm not going to do, because you don't...
Could you, for the benefit of the audience, say what those 2 diamonds represent in your rank?
What they represent is that I'm asking you...
The inspector starts by labeling the area as private property, and then quickly dismisses the fact that it is publicly funded because that point weakens his position. When that approach does not hold, he shifts again and turns it into an accusation of trespass. That is where the situation is properly challenged, because trespass in its basic form is a civil matter unless certain conditions apply. Asking whether it falls under police action or civil responsibility is not clever, but simply correct. At the same time, he refuses to provide his own identification and keeps his ID out of view, which creates a one-sided interaction where demands are made, but accountability is withheld. This moment highlights how authority is being asserted without the transparency that should come with it.
Do you have a reason to be on
Right now I do.
Premises?
Right now I do. It's to identify you.
As we haven't met, I'm wondering why you're being so hostile.
Then introduce yourself.
Come to the public area.
If we played police bingo today, we've got hostile, private ground when it's public. A lot of people ticking boxes at the moment. It is cliche corner, isn't it? Stick within the bounds of the law. Identify yourself. You're in uniform. That's a second formal offer. You have the opportunity to redress your error.
Have a silly conversation
for the 3rd and final time before it goes on record.
Of an office building.
On the record for the 3rd and final time, will you identify yourself while you're in the course of your duty?
What I'm not going to do.
Yes or no?
Is I'm not going to give you permission to put
you're not
this
identifying yourself. This is no longer a consensual conversation.
Onto the internet.
I will take it up with your superiors.
You don't have permission to put that video on the internet. You don't have my personal permission.
Tell me the law that precludes me from doing it.
You're not in a public place.
Tell me the law that precludes me from doing it.
I'm telling you that I'm not giving you personal permission to put any video onto the internet.
Don't need it.
But just so that you know.
Did you watch the Twin Towers come down?
That is relevant.
Did you watch the Twin Towers come down?
Goodness me.
Did you?
You're one of these. Okay.
Oh, one of these. Bingo time, boys. Here we go.
You're going to tell me that the police knocked the Twin Towers down or something like that?
No, don't be sick.
Hostile label appears the moment the inspector starts losing control of the exchange, even though plodding along remains calm, steady, and focused on asking simple questions. That calm approach becomes an issue only because it cannot be pressured into compliance. The situation then escalates further when the inspector claims he needs personal permission for the video to be shared online, which is not a misunderstanding, but an attempt to create authority that does not exist. Officers do not have the power to control footage, simply because they are uncomfortable with how they appear. When an inspector begins inventing consent rules and framing composure as hostility, it shows the focus has shifted away from public duty and toward personal reaction. This moment reveals how quickly authority can be misused when it is challenged with calm and clear questioning.
Public place, so we can keep talking.
There we go.
At the moment, there's people who are...
Did your constabulary put these council painted lines down?
They have no relevance to public roads.
They're public. It's publicly funded.
No,
1972 Criminal Justice Act, Section 33, implied rights of access.
There are signs at the front
which I've read and I've recorded and narrated to, and I haven't been anywhere.
Like you're an angry man.
Anywhere
you're an
that I shouldn't be.
Who doesn't like public services.
Do you think personal insinuation is the way for a senior officer to behave?
This is an observation. You seem to be very angry.
Angry?
You're here on a police station. You clearly don't like the police.
Would you be delighted if your rights were violated?
Back into.
Would you be delighted? No, you
very
wouldn't.
argumentative, and it's
Oh,
far
that's a
less
crime, isn't it?
to
What
happen to you with the
constitutes
police. Or you
authorisation?
have a
I'm asking
general
you now, as a
dislike
member of the
public
public.
services.
I work in a public
I
service.
think that you've got a general dislike of the police.
I work in the public service.
Okay.
Telling him to move to a public area is where the inspector loses consistency, because plotting along points directly to the double yellow lines running past the station, which are council markings tied to public highway rules and not something found on truly private land. He then strengthens the point by referring to Section 33 of the Criminal Justice Act 1972, which recognizes lawful access in places where the public are normally allowed to be. The inspector does not address that point at all, and instead shifts into labeling him as angry again and again. That response is not leadership, and it is not grounded in authority, but shows a senior officer reacting emotionally after the legal position he relied on has been challenged and exposed.
People came to where you worked to start arguments with a hostility towards what you do.
They'd be allowed to film,
I
and I'd
think-
have to identify myself. Firstly, identify yourself as you're
The reason I'm
obligated
not
to
going
do. The reason
is
you're not going to because you're
here
acting.
with an axe to grind, and you don't like
Speculation, overruled.
people
Speculation,
here for public-
overruled.
give you public service.
See how this will pan out in court? Speculation,
This
overruled.
won't end up in court.
No, it won't, because your side will settle before it goes there. To
You
make a
have.
formal complaint about your lack of
Then
identification.
you're
I'll take it. I'll
you're
take it to the
also-
relevant
but
body.
I'm not in public.
I beg. You're on duty.
I'm always on duty.
Exactly, and you have to identify
So,
whether
no,
you're in plain clothes
I'm
or
not
not.
in a public place.
Yes, you are.
I'm not dealing with the public.
Remember, this
you
is-
are on private property. So what I'm
This
not going
debate
to do
we're
is
taking
give
up
you
by
a name
solicitors.
to put onto the internet for your angry website where you don't like public
Angry website.
services.
Classic. This
You
geezer, isn't he?
don't seem to have any questions. What do you want
I
from
have.
this interaction?
Who am I speaking with? You're now
you're
obligated
behind-
under
you're
two
behind a
rationales.
sign that says
Two
no
rationales. Your code of
unauthorised
ethics.
access.
Your code of ethics and your policies.
Please
You're on
tell me
duty.
about the code of ethics.
I think it's the other way around. You need to adhere
Well, you're
to.
giving
Look at
me
your
all the
senior.
facts.
Look at the ranking
You're
here.
giving me
Look
all
at the
the
rank.
facts. What would you like
Look
to
at the rank.
What would you like
And
to
this is
talk
how you
about? What would you
behave.
like to achieve?
They always say shit travels downwards, don't they? Eh?
Well,
This is the point where the inspector drops any real sense of professionalism as he refuses to identify himself, not because of safety or operational need, but because he claims PA does not like public servants, which is an irrelevant emotional excuse. Personal feelings do not remove an officer duty, and dislike is not misconduct, nor does it cancel responsibility. He then repeats the same claim about being on private property, as if that somehow removes accountability. PA responds by pointing out that under the Police Code of Ethics, identification is not optional and is a basic requirement tied to transparency and public trust rather than location or personal mood. This moment clearly shows the gap between what authority requires and how it is being applied in practice.
site.
Sensitive. Put some soothing lotion on it then if it's sensitive.
So you're funny as well as interesting.
Brilliant, aren't I?
Every one of your viewers will find this fascinating. Just don't walk towards my staff because, unlike me, they're
Your
not
staff?
they're not used to people who dislike the police wandering around. Hello, hi. Do you have some identification? You do. If you could wear it when you walk around, that would be very useful.
This is a
don't
conversation
need-
you're having from a man who
Because-
refuses to identify, so just take note of the hypocrisy from a senior member of your staff.
If you have no reason to be here, then I'll
Just
ask you.
see
I'll
the rank
ask you to
hypocrisy
leave,
of your comment then.
because I'm going to challenge them if they don't have a reason to be here.
Yeah, you apply one rule to them and not to yourself.
Dislike for the police.
That's a.
I don't know why you dislike the
I'll
police.
tell you what that is. That could be
You're
construed
very
as slander
well, my observations, my personal opinion.
whilst on duty. You're not here to enforce personal opinions, you're here to enforce the law.
You
Thank you
seem
very
to
much
be-
for saying that on
you
camera.
seem to
Thank
be
you.
rather
Thank
angry.
you. Thank
Please
you.
don't
Thank
walk
you.
towards
Thank you.
where people are working.
And what happens if I do? Sorry, let me rephrase. What happens exactly when I do?
You're well aware that it's
Doing as we speak.
it's a complicated practice, isn't it? It's not a clear principle.
Labeling the station as a sensitive site comes in as a last-minute justification after earlier arguments fail, and if it were genuinely treated, that way the same standard would apply to everyone. Staff are moving in and out without visible identification, and it only becomes an issue when a camera appears. PA points out that inconsistency, and it lands clearly, because sensitivity cannot be selective. What really undermines the inspector is how openly personal opinion drives the interaction, as he is not enforcing a defined rule boundary or legal power, but reacting to how he feels about being filmed. PA highlights that officers are not there to enforce preferences or reactions, but to apply what is actually supported by law. This moment shows how quickly authority loses strength when it is guided by feeling instead of clear and consistent rules.
No public access beyond this point. You know
No, it didn't.
well
It said no
why.
unauthorised access. This.
You know full well why we have that. Because of the dangers that police officers
Here we go.
face.
Here we go. Here
And
we go.
because of the hostilities from people ranging from casual, camera-wielding, angry people who don't like society and have a problem with public services,
I work in
through
the public
to
service.
violent acts.
This is brilliant.
Through to violent acts.
Am I
to
committing a
police
violent
officers.
act?
No, that's
Am
why
I
I said
intimidating
through.
you?
So that range.
Am I intimidating you?
If you'd like to be famous, I suggest you come up with some content that has a purpose, or ask a question that you think you might get an answer to.
You're less than Wayne
Populist
Cousins.
rants like this, citing.
You're less than
bits
Wayne
of-
Cousins.
Bits of information.
Less
in the
than Wayne
media.
Cousins. He identified.
Now, if a police officer is on duty in public, I'd expect them to identify themselves. I've had to cut
On
out
duty's the key.
because you've brought your angry rhetoric against public
On
service.
duty's the
These are
key.
people who work
On
here,
duty's
aren't
the
they?
key.
Bringing up the dangers of policing at this stage is clear misdirection because general risk cannot replace specific grounds for action. PA cuts through it by asking the key question about what violent act has actually been committed, and the silence that follows says everything. You cannot take past experiences or worst-case scenarios and project them onto the person in front of you just to justify intervention. Using broad danger as an argument turns genuine risk into a shield that hides the absence of a lawful reason to interfere. This moment highlights how quickly serious concerns can be misused when there is no concrete basis to rely on.
These officers may identify themselves because they're on duty. They're in uniform.
You're all in uniform.
No, you've come to my office.
So
I
what?
don't face the public.
You
and
are
I
now.
work in an area that none of the public
You're
have
facing
access.
a member of the public right now,
So
but you have
also
no
then
right to
move on
remove me.
No, I said that I'm not going to.
You have no right to.
Well, let's talk about
You've
it
argued
in
trespass.
private- in a
Trespass.
public place.
Trespass is a civil matter.
It is,
If
sir.
it's aggravated trespass, you're more than welcome.
You're standing in front of a building,
Said building.
which you don't have a right to stand in front
Standing.
of. And the moment you start
Untrue.
intimidating staff coming in and out
I'm not
of the main
intimidating
exit
anybody. That's
by
a
your
false accusation.
presence,
You're making a false
then
accusation
it
on
will become
record.
an aggravated trespass.
You're making a false
You're
accusation.
standing in front of the double security door
False
to some
accusation.
infrastructure which carries a risk and a
False
threat.
reporting is a
If
crime
those
under the
staff-
1967
if those
Criminal
staff
Act. You do
are
realise that, don't
intimidated
you?
by your presence, then you'll find yourself liable to be dealt with under aggravated trespass,
Yeah.
which is a criminal intent. So I'm going to leave you with the officers who are on duty.
You're going- for final
while you
time,
try
you're going
and
to-
intimidate my
Are you
staff
trying
with your
to-
angry
for the final
rhetoric, which
time?
we've heard so many times.
Then learn the
It's
lessons.
called conspiracy
Learn.
theories.
And
People are very
Are you going
enthusiastic
to
about
identify?
it.
There is no behavior to point to no disruption, no obstruction, just filming while standing still, yet it is suddenly being framed as aggravated trespass. That is a serious claim to make without evidence, because aggravated trespass requires deliberate interference, not imagined discomfort. This shift shows the inspector raising the accusation only after earlier claims have failed to hold. When ordinary filming cannot be justified as a problem, it gets recast as something more serious. At that point, the focus is no longer on applying the law properly, but on stretching it to fit a narrative that was never supported by facts.
Well,
Stand out the front of this building, then you may be committing an aggravated trespass because through
Who's the injured party?
harassment and
Who's the injured party?
If you let me finish.
Who's the injured party?
If you let me
Who's
finish.
the injured party?
I will answer that question with words.
Member of staff.
If you'll
They're on
let
duty.
me-
They
if you
cannot be
let me-
harassed, alarmed,
if
and
you let
distressed.
me- If
No.
you let me,
We've played
if you
bingo
let me
before.
Stand out
And they're
the
on
front.
duty.
If you stand out the front, intimidating them to prevent them doing their lawful activity,
If-
coming to work,
if
then you'll
speculative.
find yourself liable.
Have I committed that offence?
You'll find yourself
Am I suspected of committing
You'll
that
find
offence?
yourself liable to
This lawsuit's going
aggravated
up and up
trespass.
and up, isn't it?
I will wager you've never filed a lawsuit in anyone. I will wager.
And that's on record, folks.
I'll leave you with these officers.
Please don't
Go and
circle
enjoy
around,
your
sir.
YouTube channel. I hope your viewer likes watching it. Please leave the
Would
premises.
you like to identify yourself?
No, sir.
And that's his final word.
Floating the idea that he may be committing aggravated trespass without pointing to a single clear act reveals everything, because that word may carries the entire claim without requiring proof. It allows the inspector to suggest seriousness without backing it up with facts. PA stays focused and breaks it down by asking simple direct questions about who has been harmed, who has been obstructed, and who has actually been prevented from doing their job. There's no answer because there's no real victim and no disruption taking place. Staff do not become victims simply because someone is filming nearby, and suspicion alone does not create harm. The weakness becomes obvious as the allegation falls apart under basic examination because aggravated trespass requires intent to disrupt lawful activity, not discomfort or annoyance. PA highlights that gap clearly, and instead of filling it with evidence, the response shifts back to hypotheticals and tone. That is not enforcement, and it becomes a search for something that is not there. When an allegation cannot be connected to a person in action or a real outcome, then the power being used exists only in assumption. The ending confirms it as the inspector, faced with questions he cannot answer and claims he cannot support, chooses to step away without warning action or follow-up. That silence becomes the final reveal that the position could not be maintained. If you found this breakdown useful, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel and keep accountability in focus. I am the Audit Assessor, and this was episode 13. See you next time.